My boss fired me the day my father died. Now he's begging me to come back. Hi Reddit, I'm a 35-year-old man, and I found myself in a situation that has completely turned my life upside down. I work, or more accurately, worked, as a system administrator for a mid-sized IT company in Chicago that provides cloud services for small businesses. The salary is decent, about $85,000 a year, plus bonuses, and I was in good standing. In 5 years of work, not a single major mistake, always closed projects on time, even received the Employee of the Year award in 2023. But 2 weeks ago, I was fired for not coming to work on the day my father died. And now, imagine this, my management is calling and asking me to come back because no one can handle my tasks. I am in complete shock and don't know what to do, forgive them, demand compensation, or just tell them to go to hell. I'll tell you everything in order, as requested, with details so you understand the full story. A bit about my family, as it's important for the story. I live alone in a small rented apartment in a Chicago suburb, but my parents, both retirees, lived an hour's drive away in the town of Evanston. My dad, 67, was a high school math teacher, and after retirement, he took up gardening and volunteered at the local library. He was my best friend. We went to baseball games together, diehard Cubs fans. He taught me how to play chess, and we talked on the phone every week about everything from work to politics. My mom, 64, works part-time at a charity organization, but lately has been taking more care of Dad as he was diagnosed with lung cancer 2 years ago. He was fighting it, undergoing chemotherapy, and the doctors said there was a chance, but a month ago his condition sharply deteriorated. I tried to take time off to visit him in the hospital, but my boss, Jeff, 45 years old, a typical corporate careerist, always grumbled, "You're needed here, the clients are waiting." I warned him that my dad was not doing well and that I might not come in suddenly if something happened. He would nod, but it seems he didn't take it seriously. Now for the story itself. 2 weeks ago on a Tuesday, I was at work as usual, setting up a server for a new client. The deadline was in 2 days. Around 10 a.m., my mom called me in tears. "Your father is in the ICU, come immediately." I dropped everything, wrote to Jeff on Slack. "My father is in critical condition, I'm going to the hospital, won't be able to work today." He replied, "Okay, keep me posted, but remember the deadline." I got in the car, drove to the hospital in 40 minutes, and there I found out that my dad had died an hour before I arrived. A heart attack, triggered by weakness from the cancer. I didn't get to say goodbye. My mom was hysterical. I was holding her, barely holding myself together. That day, I stayed with her, helped with organizing the funeral, called relatives. I didn't even think about work. I wrote to Jeff in the evening. "My father passed away, we'll be busy with the funeral, will take a few days." He replied, "My condolences, but the client is pressuring us, try to come back tomorrow." I was shocked by his tone, but replied that I would return after the funeral in 3 days. The funeral was on Friday. I took time off officially. We have 3 paid bereavement days, according to company policy. On Monday, I returned to the office, still in a fog of grief but ready to work. I come in and Jeff calls me into his office. He says, "You didn't show up on Tuesday without warning. The client dropped us. We lost a $50,000 contract. You let us down." I explain, "I wrote to you that my father was dying. I couldn't work." He says, "You should have found a replacement or connected remotely. It's unprofessional." I reminded him about the company policy, about time off, about the fact that I had warned him, but he had already signed the dismissal order for violation of work discipline. They escorted me out of the office that same day, gave me a box with my things, a mug, a photo with my dad from a baseball game, a couple of books. I was in a stupor, 5 years of work, and I was thrown out like trash for being with my family on the worst day of my life. I went home, told my mom, she cried, said it was unfair, but asked me not to fight with them because you need a job. I applied for unemployment benefits, started looking for a new job, but the IT market isn't the best right now. Many companies are downsizing, and I wasn't emotionally recovered yet. I sent my resume to 10 companies, got 2 interview invitations, but no offers so far. My mom is helping financially, although I don't want to take her pension. She's barely managing after losing dad. I have savings for 3-4 months, but I'm still anxious. And now for the most interesting part. Yesterday, 2 weeks after being fired, the HR manager, Sarah, she was always normal, unlike Jeff, calls. She says, "We lost another client because no one can figure out your systems. Jeff admitted he rushed with the dismissal. Do you want to come back? We are ready to discuss terms." I almost dropped the phone. They threw me out, didn't even listen, and now when their clients are leaving, they remember me. Sarah hinted that Jeff is under pressure from upper management because the loss of contracts is hurting their bonuses. They are offering the same salary, but no apologies, no compensation for the dismissal, just come back and that's it. I said I would think about it, but inside I'm boiling. On one hand, I need a job, on the other, how can I work with people who treated me like that? AITA for wanting to demand compensation or a raise before returning. Am I overreacting because I need money and should just swallow the insult? What would you do? Advice Reddit because I'm lost. Update 1, 6 days after the original post. Hi Reddit, thank you for your comments under my original post. There were over 1,500 of them, and I honestly tried to read as many as possible. Most of you said in TA that I'm not the asshole and that the company acted unfairly by firing me for not coming to work on the day of my father's death. Some advised going to a labor lawyer immediately, others to demand compensation before returning, and some joked that I should return only to sabotage their systems and leave with a loud scandal. Your messages gave me the strength not to feel guilty and to think about how to proceed. Many asked for details, what the company is, if I have proof of correspondence with my boss, and how I'm coping emotionally after losing my dad. So here is the first update in these 6 days, with a chronology, details about family, work, and my feelings. It will be long because you asked for details, and I want to get it off my chest. After I wrote the original post, I had mixed feelings. On one hand, resentment towards Jeff, my boss, and the company. They threw me out after 5 years of work without giving me a chance to explain. On the other, anxiety, because I'm jobless and my savings aren't endless. I live in a rented apartment in a Chicago suburb, pay $1,200 a month, plus utilities, and I also help my mom with expenses, as her pension and part-time work at a charity barely cover her needs. My mom is holding up after the funeral, but I can see it's hard for her. She often cries when we talk on the phone and remembers how Dad loved to sit in the garden behind the house. I try to visit her more often. I go to Evanston every other day, help with shopping and small repairs. It's distracting, but at the same time reminds me of Dad. His favorite chair is still in the living room, and I can't look at it without tears. Regarding work, after the call from Sarah, the HR manager, I took a day to think. Many of you advised checking if I have proof of my correspondence with Jeff, and I did. On Slack, I found all the messages, where I warned him a month ago about my dad's condition, where I wrote on the day of his death that I was going to the hospital, and where I informed him about the funeral. I took screenshots, saved them to Google Drive, and even printed them out just in case. I also have an email from HR confirming my right to 3 paid bereavement days according to company policy. This gave me confidence that the dismissal was unfair. I warned them, acted according to the rules, but Jeff simply ignored it. I called Sarah the day after the post and said I would think about returning, but I want a formal offer and an apology from Jeff. She hesitated, said that Jeff is busy, but promised to relay the message. 2 days later, she sent an email. They are offering the same position, $85,000 salary, but no raise or compensation for the dismissal. I replied that I want $95,000 because I know they are losing clients without me, a formal apology and compensation for the 2 weeks without work, approximately $3,300 based on my salary. Sarah said she would discuss it with management, but it's been quiet since. Meanwhile, I continue to look for a new job. I sent out 15 more resumes, had 3 interviews, 1 at a startup offering remote work, but the salary is lower, $70,000, and 2 at larger companies where the process is still ongoing. In one interview, they asked why I left my previous job, and I honestly told them. It turned out the recruiter knows Jeff and said he has a reputation for a harsh style. That calmed me down a bit. I'm not the only one who finds him toxic, but finding a job quickly isn't working out, and I'm starting to worry because my savings, about $10,000, are dwindling. I paid rent, bought my mom new medication, she started taking a sedative, and spent another $200 on car repairs because it broke down on the way to Evanston. Emotionally, I'm on edge. At home, I often sit in silence, scrolling through photos with my dad. We had a tradition of going to a Cubs game every year, and I found tickets from the 2022 game when we celebrated his remission. It breaks my heart. My mom tries to support me, invited me to dinner with her sister, my aunt, but I could barely stand it. Everyone was reminiscing about Dad, and I feel guilty for not getting to say goodbye. Friends text me, offer to meet up, but I'm not ready yet. It's embarrassing to admit I'm unemployed for such a stupid reason. One friend who works in IT advised me to contact a labor lawyer because the dismissal looks like wrongful termination. I found a lawyer through Google, booked a consultation, $150 per hour, and we met yesterday. I showed him the screenshots, the company policy, and he said there's a chance to win a lawsuit for $15,000 for emotional distress and lost wages. But it could take months, and I'm not sure I want to get involved in a lawsuit when I haven't recovered from losing my dad. Another twist last night, it wasn't Jeff who called, but his boss, the regional director, Ann. She was polite, said she had heard about the situation, and that Jeff may have rushed things. They are offering me to return with a $5,000 bonus for the inconvenience, and promise that Jeff will write an apology. But I feel like this is just a way to hush up the scandal. They lost another client, and my colleague, who stayed with the company, wrote that the servers are down because no one knows how to maintain my scripts. I told Anne I want a $100,000 salary and a formal letter of apology, otherwise I'll consider a lawsuit. She promised to respond in a couple of days. Details about family as asked. Mom is holding on but started seeing a therapist due to grief. She asked me not to sue because you are needed by the company and they need you. I am an only child, so all the support is on me. Work, I was a key admin responsible for cloud servers, and I know that without me they are in chaos. No one can figure out my automation scripts. Emotionally, I started running in the morning to distract myself, but the nights are hard. I dream about Dad. AITA if I go to court instead of returning, or is it better to take the bonus and swallow the insult? Advice is welcome. Update 2, 16 days after the original post. Hello again, Reddit. Thank you for the comments under the first update. There were over 2,000 and you really helped me keep going. Many advised not to return to the toxic Jeff, to demand more compensation, or to go to court, while some wrote that I should use their dependence on my skills to get the maximum. One user shared a story about being fired due to a family situation, and the court brought him $20,000, which inspired me. I read almost everything and it gave me clarity. Here is the second update in these 10 days, many events, from negotiations with the company to an unexpected offer from another firm. I'll tell you in detail, with a chronology as you requested, and it helps me sort things out. After the first update, I waited for a response from Anne, the regional director. 2 days later, she called and offered, return to the same position, $90,000 salary instead of my $85,000, a one-time $5,000 bonus, and a letter of apology from Jeff. But the letter turned out to be pathetic, Jeff wrote. Sorry for the misunderstanding. We value your work. No admission that he was wrong to fire me on the day of my father's death. I told Anne that this wasn't enough. I want a $100,000 salary, $10,000 compensation for the dismissal, and a formal apology where Jeff admits his fault. Anne hesitated, said that Jeff is against the raise, but she would try to persuade him. I gave her 48 hours because I felt they were stalling. Meanwhile, my colleague from the company, let's call him Mike, wrote on WhatsApp, you are needed, the servers are crashing every week, Jeff is panicking, clients are complaining. This confirmed that I have leverage, my automation scripts were unique. I wrote them myself, and no one on the team can maintain them. On the job search front, I received an offer from the startup I mentioned in the first update. They offered $75,000 remote work, but with a 3-month probation period and smaller bonuses. I thanked them but said I would think about it. The salary is lower than I want, and the startup seems unstable. But on the 5th day after the update, something unexpected happened. I got a call from another company where I had interviewed. Large IT firm in Chicago that works with financial clients. They offered a senior sysadmin position with a $110,000 salary, a full benefits package, health insurance, 401k, and a hybrid schedule. I was shocked. This is better than my old job and even better than what I asked from Anne. The only problem, they want me to start in 2 weeks, and I haven't decided about the old company yet. I asked for a couple of days to think, and they agreed. Meanwhile, I went for a second consultation with the lawyer. He reviewed the offer from Anne, the screenshots with Jeff, and said that a wrongful termination lawsuit has an 85% chance of winning because I acted according to company policy, warned about the situation, and the dismissal was hasty. He estimated compensation at $15.20,000 lost wages, emotional distress, but warned that the lawsuit could last 3-6 months and would be draining. I told him about the offer from the new company, and he advised using it as leverage in negotiations with the old firm. Tell them you have a better offer and see what they give. I did just that. I called Anne, told her about the $110,000 offer and that I wouldn't return without $100,000, $15,000 compensation, and Jeff's dismissal. The last one was a joke, but I wanted to test her. Anne replied that they wouldn't fire Jeff, but they were ready to offer $95,000, an $8,000 bonus, and a formal letter of apology. I said I would think about it until the end of the week. On the family front, Mom found out about the new offer and was delighted, but asked me not to burn bridges with the old company because stability is important. I drove to her in Evanston. We talked over dinner. She showed me an album with childhood photos, me with Dad fishing at a baseball game. It broke my heart, but gave me the strength to move forward. Dad always said, don't let anyone walk all over you. I decided that I wouldn't return to Jeff, even with a bonus, too much resentment. Yesterday, I accepted the offer from the new company, signed the contract, and they sent a welcome package with a t-shirt and a mug, a small thing, but nice. I start in 10 days, and I'm already planning how to spend my first paycheck. I want to buy my mom tickets to a concert of her favorite jazz band to cheer her up. Emotionally, I still miss my dad, but the new offer gave me hope. I went to a therapist's second session, $100, and he said I'm doing the right thing by putting myself first. I also started going to baseball games with a friend. It reminds me of dad, but in a good way. The old company, I wrote to Anne that I'm refusing because I have a better offer. She replied, "A pity, we value you, good luck." Jeff didn't call, and I'm glad. I don't want to hear from him. Am I in TA for moving on? Should I have accepted their offer? Thank you, Reddit. You are my heroes. Update 3, 1 month after the original post. Hi, Reddit. Thank you for your comments under the second update. There were over 2,500, and I'm amazed by your support. Many wrote that I did the right thing by accepting the offer from the new company, and that returning to the toxic Jeff would have been a mistake. Some advised still suing the old company for wrongful termination to get compensation, while others shared stories about similar situations. One user told how his boss apologized after firing him, but he moved on and doesn't regret it. Your advice gave me confidence that I'm on the right path, although the last 2 weeks have been like a roller coaster, from the euphoria of the new job to new family and personal challenges. Here is the update for these 2 weeks, in detail, with a chronology, as you asked for more details about work, family, and my emotions. It will be long because a lot has happened, and I want to sort it all out. After the second update, where I accepted the offer from the new company, $110,000 salary, senior sysadmin, hybrid schedule, I started preparing to begin. The new firm gave me access to their systems to familiarize myself, and I spent a few days studying the documentation. It's a financial company that works with banks, so their servers are more complex than at my old job, but I was thrilled. It's the challenge I need. My new colleagues seem cool. At the online onboarding, I met the team, and my future boss, Lisa, seems the complete opposite of Jeff. She is open, asked about my interests, and even joked about loving the Cubs. I mentioned I'm a baseball fan. They gave me a laptop with great specs and invited me to the office for a welcome day in a week. I felt uplifted, even bought a new suit for $200 to look professional. But not everything was smooth. On the family front, Mom became more anxious after losing Dad. She started calling daily, asking if I was sure about the new job because you just lost the old one. What if it doesn't work out? I understand her fear. She's alone now, and I'm her only support. I drove to her in Evanston 3 times in these 2 weeks, helped with the garden. Dad loved it, and Mom wants to preserve the flowers he planted. During one dinner, she admitted she's afraid I might move away if the new job requires relocation. They hinted at a possible future opportunity to work in New York. I reassured her I would stay in Chicago, but I see it's hard for her. I paid for another month of her therapy, $150 per session, because she says it helps. I also kept my promise, bought tickets to a jazz concert of her favorite band, $120 for 2 seats for her and my aunt. She smiled for the first time in a long time, and it warmed my heart. Regarding the old company, an unexpected turn happened here. 3 days after I refused Anne, the regional director, Mike, my former colleague, called me. He told me that Jeff received a reprimand from upper management for losing 2 major clients, and one of them directly said they left due to chaos in the IT department. Mike hinted that Jeff might be demoted if another contract falls through. That same day, Anne wrote to me, not called, but wrote an email, which is rare for her. She offered a new deal, return to the position, $100,000 salary, a $10,000 bonus, and a formal letter of apology where Jeff admits he made a mistake by rushing the dismissal. I was shocked. This is exactly what I asked for initially, but I replied that I had already signed a contract with the new company and wouldn't return unless they offered something extraordinary. Anne wrote, name your price. I consulted a friend. He works in HR at another firm, and he said, squeeze the maximum out of them. They are desperate. I replied, $120,000 salary, a $15,000 bonus, and written confirmation that Jeff would no longer be my boss. Anne said that was difficult, but promised to discuss it with the CEO. Meanwhile, I went for another consultation with the labor lawyer, another $150. He said that the new proposal from the old company is practically an admission of their guilt, and if I want to sue, the chances of winning are now almost 90%. He estimated potential compensation at $25,000, but again warned that the lawsuit could drag on. I told him about the offer from the new company, and he advised focusing on it and using the old one as a plan B. I decided not to file a lawsuit for now, but kept the door open. I asked the lawyer to prepare a draft of the lawsuit, just in case, another $200. Emotionally, I'm still struggling. I went to a Cubs game with a friend. It was the first time without Dad, and I barely held back tears during the national anthem. But my friend supported me. We drank beer and remembered how Dad taught us to throw a ball. I also started keeping a journal on my therapist's advice, writing down thoughts about Dad, work, and it helps. At the new job, I officially started yesterday. First day in the office, met the team, and I was impressed by how they value my skills. Lisa said my knowledge of cloud systems is golden. This is a contrast to Jeff, who never praised me, but I still feel resentment towards the old company. Their offer sounds attractive, but I don't trust them. Family details. Mom is planning to sell some of Dad's things, his fishing gear, because she can't look at them, but she asks for my help. I'm an only child, so everything falls on me. Work. The old company is in chaos, according to Mike. They hired a freelancer, but he can't cope. New job. I already set up one server, and colleagues say I saved the day. AITA if I take their offer if they agree to my terms. Or is it better to stay at the new job? Thank you, Reddit. You are my saviors. Update 4, 1.5 months after the original post. Hello everyone, Reddit. Thank you for the comments under the third update. There were over 1,800, and I'm amazed how you're rooting for me. Many advise staying at the new job because it sounds more promising and not returning to the toxic environment, even with a higher salary. Some wrote that I should take compensation from the old company through a lawsuit, and one user shared a story about how he returned to his old boss and regretted it because he hadn't changed. Your advice helped me make a decision, and it seems I'm finally on the right path. Here is the update for these 3 weeks, many events, from the final decision regarding the old company to progress at the new job and family moments. I'll tell you in detail, with a chronology, as you love details, and it helps me figure things out myself. After the third update, I waited for Anne's response regarding my proposal, $120,000 salary, $15,000 bonus, Jeff not to be my boss. 4 days later, she called and said that the CEO agreed to $110,000 salary, a $12,000 bonus, and transferring me to a different manager, not Jeff, but someone from a neighboring department. This was a strong offer, and I felt tempted. It's more than I had and more than the new job. But I talked to Mike, my colleague from the old company, and he said, Jeff is still in the office, and he's angry that you bargained for so much. If you return, he'll make your life hell. That was a red flag. I also consulted with the lawyer. He said their offer effectively confirms the illegality of the dismissal, and I could use it in court if I want. I wrote to Anne that I was refusing because I have a better job and asked for official compensation for the dismissal, $15,000, without returning. She replied that it's impossible without returning, and we parted ways. I decided to finally close the door on the old company, too much toxicity. At the new job, everything is going great. I've been working as a senior sysadmin for 3 weeks now, and the team has accepted me as one of their own. I set up 2 critical servers for their bank client, and Lisa, my boss, sent an email to the whole team praising my speed and expertise. It felt so good after years of Jeff ignoring my achievements. The salary is $110,000, plus I received my first bonus, $2,000 for quickly closing a project. I'm already used to the hybrid schedule, 3 days in the office, 2 at home, and it gives me time to drive to my mom's. The only downside is the work is harder than before, and I sometimes stay until 8 p.m., but I enjoy the challenge. I even joined their corporate chat where we share it memes. It's the first time in a long time I've laughed at work. On the family front, Mom is making progress in therapy. She went to the jazz concert with my aunt and said it was the first evening without tears. I helped her sell Dad's fishing gear for $300. We donated the money to the library where he volunteered. It was her idea, and I'm proud she's finding the strength to move on. But she still asks me not to fight with the old company, afraid I'll make enemies. I explained that I won't return but left the door open for a possible settlement. The lawyer suggested sending them a letter demanding $20,000 for wrongful termination without a lawsuit. I agreed, and we sent the letter another $100 for preparation. The old company hasn't responded yet, but Mike wrote that Jeff was demoted to a consultant and lost half of his bonuses this quarter. That soothed my ego a little. Emotionally, I feel better, but I still miss my dad. I went to another Cubs game, this time with my mom. We took her to remember Dad. She cried during the national anthem, but then smiled, remembering how Dad used to shout from the stands. I also started volunteering at the library once a week. It's a way to feel closer to him. The therapist says I'm making progress and advised planning something positive. I signed up for a cybersecurity course, $500, paid for by the new company to improve my skills. Regarding the old company, I decided that if they don't give me compensation voluntarily, I will file a lawsuit. The lawyer is ready to take the case for 30% of the winnings. Details: Mom is planning a trip to her sister's in California. I'll pay for part of it, about $400. New job: I already received praise from a client, and Lisa hinted at a possible raise in 6 months. Old company: Mike says they hired a new admin, but he can't cope. AITA if I file a lawsuit, even though I have a new job, or is that too much? Thank you, Reddit, you are the best. Update 5, 2.5 months after the original post. Hi Reddit, here is my final update, and I am incredibly grateful for your support. Over 2,000 comments under the previous update, and your advice, stories, and jokes helped me get through this chaos. Many advised not to back down from the old company and to seek compensation. Others supported my choice of the new job and said I was right to put myself first. When users shared how they won a lawsuit against a company for wrongful termination and bought a car with the compensation, which inspired me not to give up. This update closes the story. I reached a resolution with the old company, stabilized at the new job, and found peace in family matters. I'll tell you in detail, with a chronology, emotions, and details about family and work, as you asked for a detailed account. It will be long, but I want to put a period on this story. After the fourth update, where I sent the letter demanding $20,000 compensation from the old company, I focused on the new job. I've been working as a senior sysadmin at the financial company in Chicago for a month now, and it's the best decision I've made. My boss, Lisa, continues to impress. She organized a training session for the team where I presented my automation scripts, and the client, a major bank, sent an official thank you letter. My salary is $110,000, plus I received another bonus, $3,000 for quickly fixing a critical error in their cloud system. This is a contrast to my old job, where Jeff never valued my efforts. I also finished the first module of the cybersecurity course, company paid, and Lisa hinted that a promotion to lead sysadmin with a $125,000 salary is possible in 3 months. The team is great. We went out for corporate beers, and for the first time in a long time, I felt respected at work. I even updated my apartment, bought a new sofa for $600, and hung a photo with my dad from a Cubs game above the table. It reminds me of him, but now with warmth, not pain. On the family front, everything is stabilized. Mom took a big step. She went to her sister's in California for a week. I paid for the tickets, $450, and she came back happier. She said therapy helps, and she started painting. Dad always wanted her to try, and now she's taking watercolor classes in Evanston. I paid for the first month, $100. We cleaned out Dad's office together. I took his chessboard, and Mom donated his books to the library. It was hard, but we remembered funny moments, like how Dad taught me to play chess and always let me win so I would feel good. Mom no longer asks me to make up with the old company. She sees I'm happy at the new job and said, "Your father would be proud you didn't let yourself be mistreated." I'm still an only child, so I spend weekends with her, and we plan to go to a Cubs game in the spring. It will be our way of honoring Dad. And now about the old company. Here the story is finished. A week after the fourth update, Ann, the regional director, responded to my letter demanding $20,000. They offered a settlement, $15,000 compensation for wrongful termination, and signing an NDA non-disclosure agreement so I wouldn't talk about the situation publicly. I consulted with the lawyer, another $150 for the consultation, and he said it was a good offer. A lawsuit could yield $25,000, but considering the time and expenses, 30% to the lawyer, the settlement is reasonable. I also talked to Mike, my colleague, and he told me that Jeff was officially demoted to a regular manager and lost half of his bonuses this quarter. The new admin they hired quit after a week because he couldn't handle the chaos, and clients continued to complain. That gave me a sense of justice. Karma works. I signed the agreement 3 days later. They transferred $15,000 to my account, minus taxes. It came out to $11,000 net. I also asked the lawyer to include a clause that they would provide me with a positive reference for future employers, and they agreed. I allocated the money. $5,000 went to savings, $3,000 to paying off my car loan, and $3,000 I gave to my mom so she could renovate the kitchen. Dad had promised to do it long ago. Ann called after the signing and said, "We regret losing you." I replied, "You should have thought about that when you fired me." Jeff didn't call or write. I'm glad. I don't want to hear from him. Mike said he plans to quit because the atmosphere at the company is worsening, and I advised him to apply to my new firm. They are looking for people. Emotionally, I am finally at peace. The therapist, 2 more sessions, $200, said I handled the grief and stress well and advised me to continue volunteering at the library. I now help there every 2 weeks, sorting books, and it reminds me of Dad. I also started meeting friends more often. We went to a baseball game, and for the first time I didn't cry but laughed, remembering how Dad used to yell at the referee. At work, I've become part of the team. Colleagues call me the Cloud Wizard because I fix their servers faster than they expect. I'm even thinking about buying tickets to a wine festival in Napa Valley next year. It will be my way of celebrating a new beginning. Family details. Mom is planning another trip to California, and I'm thinking of going with her to make it a family tradition. She also signed up for yoga to conserve energy. Work. I received praise from the CEO for the last project, and they offered to pay for another cybersecurity course. Old company. Mike submitted his resume to my firm, and I hope they hire him. I no longer hold a grudge. The compensation and the new job have closed this chapter. I am grateful to Reddit for your support. You gave me the strength not to give up and to fight for myself. This is definitely the last update. I am finally happy, and the story is complete. NTA forever. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new stories.